This video of our brother Neil deGrasse Tyson that I'm about to play for you right now.
They weren't seeing anything else, though. Other elements of genetic diversity, of genetic expression. If all you see is skin color, you'll miss.
Now explain why genetic diversity in Africa is the reason you are going to find the most intelligent entity ever existed on this planet in Africa. Before I play the video, I would like to say one or two things, so please stick to the end. You see, I always tell people that there's no human being on this planet that can see with their physical eye. Every single one of us see with the words in their head. The more your mental vocabulary increases, the more you can see the world in its totality. You see, the encounter of the Europeans with the black folks made them to understand that these people possess something extraordinary. And for them not to accept that fact that these people are better than us, what they did was to take a second look at history and develop a strategy that they used to sell a defaulted idea of what African people are to the world. They housed the media. So they sold to us that African people are the least in human race, that have not contributed anything to the world. And this was done through religion. This was done through academics. You can't tell me that Jesus is white, that God is white, and expect me to believe that I'm in the same level with white people or I am above them. That is why educating our people on who they are is very critical. Because if you don't know who you are, you automatically buy any idea that is sold to you, just as any average person does in Africa. As a matter of fact, if you come over to Africa right now, for example, this Nigeria that I'm living, I can tell you for a fact that 99.9% of the time, an average person in Africa believe that a white man is far more better than any black man you can see anywhere in the world. And that is not something that is peculiar with people in Nigeria, just every person in the world called black, because that was an ideology that was sold to them by white people, by the Europeans. So this is a time for us to take a second look at what we are doing, our education system, our religion. It needs to be discarded for us to move forward. We need to teach our children who we really are. There is no way African people would have been the cradle of human race and you expect them not to still be the most intelligent entities on the planet, because by default they gifted mankind everything: science, technology, religion, whatever, art. They gifted mankind those things. But then I want to read to you what one of our brother Malcolm X said about media and how it controls the perception of human being. As a matter of fact, there's a book out there called The Case Against Television, how they use media to determine your perception of reality out there. So please, with your permission, I read. Malcolm X said, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and make the guilty innocent. And that is power, because they control the minds of the masses. The Europeans have used the media to control the mind of the rest of the world, posing themselves as the superior being. That is why in the 20th century, there was an idea called the polygenesis being invented by some European scientist and philosopher. That idea is that every human race did not start from Africa, that the human race had different evolution from different places, that the white man evolved as white from the European world, that the black man evolved as a black man in Africa. But until this 21st century, that the new scientist has developed a proven fact that every human being started in Africa. Now they are now going back to accept the fact that African people produced the rest of the world. This is how media controls the reality That was the reason why most of the figures in abroad, in the European world, believed in racism. But for not to say much, I want to play this video by our brother to you. So watch this video.
The exploration of Africa by Europeans, all they could see is that everybody had the same skin color. So when they divided up the world by races, they just say Black African. And that became a bin into which they put every person they ever found in Africa, because they saw skin color. They weren't seeing anything else, though. Other elements of genetic diversity, of genetic expression. If all you see is skin color, you'll miss things like height, or intelligence, or motivation. Other things that could be encoded within a person, within a group. So now watch. All evidence shows that life began in Africa, and later left Africa to go into Europe, across Asia, the land bridge into North America and South, but all began in Africa. You would expect the greatest genetic diversity of the human species to be expressed in Africa. That's what you'd expect, because it all began there, okay? So what do I mean by genetic diversity? Is it skin color? Because that's what everyone thinks about when they... No, forget skin color. Forget it. I'm talking about other features you can measure about people. So, if you have the greatest genetic diversity, where would you find the tallest person in the world? It'd be in Africa. You got the Watusi. Where would you find the shortest person in the world? It would be in Africa. You got the Pygmies. Where would you find the fastest person in the world? You find him in Africa. We're getting him off the west coast of Africa.
Yeah.
Where would you find the fastest at long distance with stamina? You'd find it in Africa. It's a different part of Africa.
Yeah.
You get that from Kenya, which is on the east coast.
Yeah.
You get the sprinters on the west coast, okay? If you wanted to find the slowest person in the world, it would be in Africa, but there's no contest for that, okay? If you wanted to find the dumbest person in the world, however you want to measure it, it'd be in Africa.
So the most intelligent
The most intelligent person
in the world
would be in Africa. And in fact, there is a project called the Africa Einstein Project. And they're looking for the next Einstein in Africa, because that's where you're going to find the smartest person there ever was in the world. But historically, Europeans are not thinking that Africa is going to have smart people, because that's not how they were represented ever.
Yeah.
Okay? This was written about, Stephen Gould wrote about this in his book, The Mismeasure of Man. There's a shelf in the British Museum that has a brain in a jar. It's the brain of a famous psychologist, anthropologist, Broca, okay? And next to it, on another shelf, are the genitals of a black male African in a jar. Well, that kind of says it all. Did you save the brain of the African? No, you saved his genitals. Did you save the genitals of Broca? No, you saved his brain.
Wait, don't go.
So sad.
People want to say the aliens built the pyramids,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, no, Africans built the pyramids. And you're European come to Africa, and it's some technology, some architecture that's beyond your capacity, and you're going to say aliens did it because you will not credit Africa for having that kind of ability?
I see you.
What's
Yeah,
wrong
it
with
is.
you?
Okay.